Hello YouTube, Jumpy23 here. Welcome to the final video in my LTC. We're taking down the big boss in the final map, Cursa! Yeah, it's spelled with 3 exclamation points. This map deploys all 9 of my units in preset formations. We start with controlling Mario, Peach, and Rabid Rosalina. The next turn we move to Luigi, and Rabid Mario. The following turn we control Rabid Peach, Edge, and Bowser, then it's back to the top. It's also really 3 maps in 1. After completing each objective, we get a whole new prep screen, and can reassign skill points and sparks. We also restart the batting order with Mario. Anyway, the first stage's objective is to destroy Cursa's 2 Astral Hands. We can only destroy 1 per turn, so this is trivially floored at 2 turns. These hands pick a unit at the start of the turn, and then follow that unit around as they walk. This means we can get the hands to move on player phase, which means, oh yeah, it's Overwatching time. The challenge of this setup is that each spark can only go with 1 set of units. Turbocharge and Vamp Astra are probably the 2 most contested ones, but all of the Attack Master and Critical Master sparks, as well as any active damage power, are also important. On this stage, we load basically everything into Mario's group. Luigi is strong enough to handle a hand with very little help, but Mario's group needs a lot. I can use Robo-heal between stages, so Peach's team barrier doesn't matter here, as long as a single unit survives the enemy phase. If all 3 die, we do game over, but there's definitely no risk of that here. I use it anyway, because why not? On turn 2, we face Cursa's other hand. I have to reset if the hand targets Luigi, but 2/3 of the time I'm fine. That's because we're going to be using Steely Stare to deal with the hand, and of course, its damage scales with distance. Luigi and Rabid Luigi run in opposite directions in order to maximize Steely Stare damage. It's still not quite enough, so I use Rabid Mario for a team jump. On that note, one random factoid worth noting is that you can't enter the air in any capacity while nearby the hands, either through a team jump or a bounce pad. The hand will snatch you out of the air. This isn't too limiting because I have 3 units, it's just something that can screw me if I'm not careful. Anyway, Luigi uses Steely Stare. Somehow the hand's very existence is enough to set it off. This isn't quite enough damage on its own, but I do still have 2 more units. Rabid Mario easily chips it in, bringing us to phase 2. In this phase, we have to do about 25,000 damage to Cursa to start phase 3. That might sound easy, but here's the catch. Cursa is immobile. No Steely Stare for us. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be a 2-turn. Once again, I've loaded a bunch of damage and crit sparks onto my first 2 parties. I also put Spark Energy on Rabid Mario, and I'm going to rig a proc. There might be, probably is, a way to route this out, but I didn't feel like finding it. Mario starts us off with a jump shot, both for the bonus damage and so he can act as a footstool for our other units. Because nobody's ZR skill works, everyone's allowed to use a damage boosting spark here, so I guess that's a silver lining. Mario has a 70% crit rate, and we really like to see crits. Peach goes next. She doesn't hit very hard, but she has nothing better to do than throw out her meager damage as well. Unfortunately, Boombrella has only a 5% crit rate, so even with a crit boosting spark, she can't crit reliably. This is more of a problem in the next phase though. Last is Rabid Rosalina with quite impressive damage, doing about 5,000 by herself. One random point of note is that sparks with damage boosting secondary effects, Toxic, Burn, Shock, and Vamp, give a 60% damage buff, while the ones without, Freeze, Gust, and Splash, give a 65% buff. Since Cursa is immune to all secondary effects, I've given the best damage buffing sparks to my highest damage units. Now my units are actually getting beamed on this enemy phase, but again, as long as one survives I'm fine. Mario hung back as the designated survivor. This is also why he took Zephyr Star specifically, for the Gust immunity, so he could stay behind cover after that Squashette attacked him. On turn 2, our units start very far from Cursa. This is why I need to rig a Spark Energy on Rabid Mario. He needs to use a move boost to even reach, but he also needs Vampastra for damage. Rabid Luigi has a funny role in this clear. These cover blocks are actually getting in Rabid Mario's way. He can only reach Cursa from where they're standing. So Rabid Luigi does no damage himself and simply breaks the blocks for Rabid Mario. His weapon is pretty weak though, so this is definitely higher value than attacking.
Just what they need.
Rabid Mario can smash up Cursa with his huge crit and damage boosts. And now it's time to finish her off. Fortunately, this game throws us a bone on this phase by counting Cursa as low elevation. I mean, technically, yeah, she's definitely standing on lower ground than Luigi. So with the guaranteed crit, we finish phase 2 in 2 turns as well. Now it's time for the last phase. There's a big reveal that Cursa is actually the final boss from Kingdom Battle, which would be shocking if I cared about the story. The setup of this phase is that I need to deal 10,000 damage 3 times. Any spillover damage past 10,000 is wasted, so this is harder than just dealing 30,000. Additionally, I don't have guaranteed crits this time with Luigi, and Rabid Mario's bum ass still can't reach without a move boost. It might be possible to do this in phase in 3 turns with sufficient luck, but I gave up after a while and settled for a 4 turn. This makes the optimal strategy quite clear. Since Mario's group will be going twice while everyone else only goes once, I give them all the best stuff. I'm also giving them each both Spark Energy and Spark Refresher, so that their second turn can be just as powerful as the first. As long as either one procs for each unit, it's fine. If Spark Energy procs, I'll just use the extra action on a cooldown clock anyway. There's a 13% chance for all 3 units to proc, but even if one fails, I can generally make it work, and the odds of 2 out of 3 procking are quite good, well over 50%. Peach, Mario, and Rabid Rosalina each lay their best attacks into the boss. Unlike last time, I have a turbocharge boost now, so I'm well past the 10,000 damage benchmark, which I was already quite close to on phase 2. The other complication is that I actually need my units to all survive this enemy phase. Ennui Dash helps a lot with that, taking out one enemy without using any actions. Cursa has also got an attack with a nasty secondary effect. It reduces the attack power of the unit that it hits. Fortunately, unlike phase 2, the enemies here aren't squashettes, while the Flaming Stooges could have easily hurt my units if they wanted, and in so doing, push them out from behind cover so that Cursa could hit them. Their AI is stupid, and they attack from up there instead, doing nothing. The next 2 groups are fairly relaxed. The 2 of them combined just need to do 10,000 damage, because Mario's group will be capable of doing a full 10,000 again next turn, since all 3 of them proc Spark skills. As such, I don't need to rig a Spark Energy with Rabid Mario this time. He just won't use Vampastra's primary effect.
Here we go.
Well, that being said, I do try something cheeky here. If this Deep Freeze can burn boost Rabid Mario into range, that's gravy. But if not, it's fine. We didn't get it here, so it's time to just do what damage we can. We only need 1 unit to survive now, so I also don't think very hard about my positioning for enemy phase. lack of guaranteed crits is so sad. Look at all that damage I'm leaving on the table.
Take it easy.
Time to meet our last group for the first time. Bowser, Rabbid Peach, and Edge. Edge has actually got good damage on the boss because Flying Blade has like 6 hits, but the other two are wet noodles. Well, anyway, I use Edge's dash movement to help everyone reach Cursa because not much is still better than nothing. Their minor hits will serve as insurance in case Mario and Rabbid Rosalina somehow repeatedly fail to crit.
Off you go.
Edge does more than enough damage to finish off the second health bar. She does a fuckload actually, more than anyone else in the entire phase.
Farewell. Let's go.
And Bowser and Rabbid Peach do some chip damage on the final health bar. Again, I only need one survivor, and Bowser's got a spare action to use Ethering, so absolutely no problem there. Time for the last of this game's 258 turns. Peach will get us started with the turbocharge. Mario will use his jump shot. And then fittingly, if you were to read the story, Rabbid Rosalina will take us home with her Kaboomer.
Let's do this.
Cursa is defeated in 2 + 2 + 4 turns, and Mario and Rabbid's Sparks of Hope is 100% completed in 258 turns. That number sounds so unimpressive compared to my last LTC, but this is just a much longer game. I'll let you watch the final cutscene in peace, but stick around for the credits for the Q&A.
Huh?
Now, while the ridiculously long credits play, I'll answer all the questions that people left me. Seriously, these credits go on longer than it seems possible. Either they're putting the same person in the
Thank
credits
you.
multiple times, or I'm the only one of the 8 billion people on Earth who has never worked for Ubisoft. Well, anyway, without further ado, here's the questions. First, from my girlfriend. Favorite spark to use?
Go.
Obviously, the strongest sparks in the game are Glitter and Turbocharge. My personal favorite, though, is probably either Screech or Vamp Dash. Screech is really niche
Woohoo!
compared to Glitter, so it's way cooler when it slots into a clear.
Ha.
Vamp Dash is a bit boring, but straight up doubling dash damage
Hey.
between its active and passive effects just makes me feel powerful.
I do.
Cutest spark?
I mean,
Aqua Dash, I guess. They're mostly pretty similar, of course, but it's got a nice color scheme, and I think the surfing sparks all look fun. I guess the most accurate answer is
Well.
not Pulsar. That one has a really gross design. Even the other four-legged sparks, like the Masters and Regenesis, pull it off better, but something about Pulsar is just bad. Ugliest Rabbid? Among playable characters, it's absolutely Rabbid Peach. Among NPCs, it's maybe still Rabbid Peach, or maybe Augie. Augie might not be the ugliest, but he's definitely my most hated. From Graded Stick, what's your favorite color? I don't have one. Even in board games, I pick my color at a whim, and it's usually not the same twice in a row. One game I'll be green, next game I'll be red, who can say? Do you like Dracovish? I do, although my favorite of the jacked up Gen 8 fossils is actually Dracozolt. This avatar is a reference to a meme from a community that I used to be in. There was a user named Mishimono whose favorite Pokemon was Dugong, so we stuck a Dracovish head on a Dugong body and called it a Dracomish. Did you like routing this game? For the most part, yes. Having to replay randomly generated levels while testing out routes was a bit of a nuisance, and ranking Spark Energy sucked, but the actual levels were quite fun to figure out, when they weren't trivial at least. Still, this was a nice break from Fire Emblem LTC because of how little long-term planning was required. Once I had turned forward a map, I didn't have to keep optimizing. I will go back to Fire Emblem after this, but I'll probably mix in a bunch of other series on my channel to keep it fresh. This entire LTC did absolutely nothing for my sub count, and in fact I even lost a couple, but fortunately, I'm not trying to make a career out of YouTube, so I'm free to upload what I want, so get used to seeing a variety of series. From Rio Leo, unit tier list? I plan to do this in a follow-up video sometime, so I'll hold off on a long-form answer for now. Though, don't expect me to upload that for a few weeks yet, because I'm going on vacation soon after uploading this one. If you really can't wait, I wrote up something quickly on Reddit about a unit tier list a couple weeks ago. I can link that in the description. It's probably not too hard to guess the placements though, based on who I've been deploying. Will you do DLC? Depends if it's good, and good for LTC. I haven't even bought it yet, though I probably will. Sounds like the community response is pretty positive so far. From Jaro, have you ever thought about doing Kingdom Battle? Yes, I have, and I might do it someday still, but Kingdom Battle is less attractive to me as an LTC game because of random burns and bounces mostly. And while I guess I could make a rule set that just says I'm not using random burns and bounces to save turns, the fact that the existing LTCs do, and that would put me behind them, means that I would feel bad about doing that as well. From Frederick Hansen, do you like this game more than XCOM? This might be slightly not hypocritical, but heretical for a tactics gamer, but I've never actually played XCOM yet. I own XCOM 2, and I should probably play it someday, but there are just too many games in the world. From ECBRD, in terms of their personality, which of the Rabbids is your favorite? I actually think Rabbid Mario's personality was my favorite before this project. I thought his bravado was pretty funny, but his attack is so loud that it kept screwing up my commentary, and that genuinely makes me like him less. After him, I guess it'd be Rabbid Rosalina, because her interactions with Captain Orion and Rosalina are cute. From Baker7153, what would you do in order to make sure that enemies can actually play the game sometimes? So this is an interesting and difficult question. It's worth noting that casually the enemies do get to play the game a bit more than they do in my playthrough, because turn 1 enemy phase actually happens sometimes. I think the first thing I would do is get rid of, or at least heavily nerf, Team Barrier. This is definitely the #1 reason that even casual players don't need to interact with the enemy. Similarly, I would make losing HP an actual punishment. The economy of this game doesn't really exist, so Robo-heal is like free however much you want to use it, and maps are so short that even casually losing HP without dying is like whatever. So I'd probably get rid of Robo-heal entirely and make it so the only ways to heal are Rabid Peach or using mushroom items in battle. That would definitely make losing HP something you had to pay a lot more attention to. After that, I have to be careful what else I would suggest. Even though enemies aren't very threatening in Sparks of Hope, that doesn't automatically make it a bad game. For a quick example, the enemies in Neon White are also non-threatening, but that game is still super fun to master, and I get a similar feeling from Sparks of Hope LTC. There are some changes I could suggest to make Sparks of Hope feel more like Kingdom Battle, but maybe it's better that it keeps its unique identity. Probably the easiest thing to do to make Sparks of Hope feel challenging would be to have static planet coin missions and then record turn counts like Kingdom Battle does. That way, even if the enemies don't push you to play optimally, getting low turn counts can. Well, that's all for the Q&A, and thus all for the video, and thus all for this LTC. I'm making no promises on any future uploads, but I'll let you know with community posts when I've decided to commit to another project. It feels wasteful to end the video here because there's another 14 minutes of credits recorded, but I didn't get that many questions, so thanks for watching.